There's been something bubbling away under the surface for a while now. A feeling. Maybe you've had it too. A sense that the game we love, or at least the way we've always known it, is starting to shift. And if you're a Celtic fan, it's hard not to feel like we're at the center of it all. Or the question is simple, really, but the answer is anything but, has European football become more important than the domestic game for us? It sounds like blasphemy, doesn't it? But listen, take a step back. Because when you look at the Scottish Premiership these days, when you actually watch it week in, week out, there's something missing. And it's not just about the level of competition. It's deeper than that. It's about meaning. It's about emotion. And most of all, it's about expectation. See, for years, the domestic league was the be-all and end-all. Winning the league wasn't just expected. It was celebrated with your whole soul. The title race mattered. The Scottish Cup was a day out for the ages. Every game, even the midweek ones in February against the St. Mirren or a Ross County, felt like part of something. Bigger. It meant something, but slowly and maybe without realizing it, that's changed. Maybe it started with a dominance. Maybe it started with a gap, financially, tactically, institutionally, between Celtic and the rest. Maybe it was the relentless run of trebles under Rodgers the first time, or maybe it was when Rangers collapsed and we spent seasons playing against a league that felt like it had lost half its soul. Whatever the reason, there's now this creeping sense that the domestic game just doesn't hit the same way anymore. A win against Livingston of 50 at home to Dundee will take it, aye, but does it stir your heart the way a night in the Champions League does? Or even a Europa League knockout tie under the lights? Because that's the thing. Europe feels like football. Big nights, big teams, big stakes. The margins are fine, the quality is high, and every point is fought for. When Celtic play, in Europe, it's as if the whole club wakes up. The fans raise the volume, the players raise their game, and even the media takes notice. There's a buzz, a real electric buzz, that you just don't get at home anymore. And that's no disrespect to Scottish football. It's not about putting down the game here. It's just reality. There's a gap, and it's growing. And what's worse, there's no real plan to fix it. The SPFL keeps trundling along, making safe choices, protecting old models. There's no bold vision, no serious attempt to make the league more competitive, more watchable, more marketable. While other countries have innovated, whether it's Belgium with their league format or Sweden with their development pipelines, Scotland's been stuck. Same fixtures, same problems, same moans. And so more and more Europe becomes the real test, the real season. We judge our managers on it. We judge our players on it. We judge ourselves on it. Lose to Motherwell at home, and I folk will grumble. But get knocked out of Europe early, or fail to show up in the group stages, and it's a full-blown crisis. And that shift tells its own story. It's no surprise then that we as fans start to see European games not just as extras, but as the main course. The domestic stuff is the warm-up. It's the training ground. It's what you need to get through to get back to the proper stage. The one where it feels like the world is watching, where reputations are made and legends are forged. And when you look at this season specifically, it only reinforces that. Because while the title race in Scotland has become a war of attrition, messy tight, and at times lacking quality, the European campaign stands out. Even with defeats, even with setbacks, there's an intensity to it that just doesn't compare. The atmosphere against Lazio, the energy against Atletico, even the heartbreak against Feyenoord, those are the nights that stay with you. Those are the nights you remember. And here's the rub for players too. Europe is where it's at. You think Matt O'Reilly's future will be judged on how he plays against Kilmarnock or St. Johnstone? No. Scouts aren't watching Dingwall on a Wednesday night. They're watching when Real Madrid roll into town. That's the stage. That's the spotlight. So where does that leave us? Because if the domestic game keeps losing relevance and Europe becomes our main focus, but we still can't realistically compete for a Champions League quarterfinal, what is the goal? What's the ceiling? Are we destined to float in this no man's land? Too big for the league, too small for the elite? That's the question Celtic, or Scottish football more widely, has to answer. Because right now we're in danger of becoming a club that exists for one type of game, one kind of night. And if those nights only come 3 or 4 times a season, is that enough? We'll leave it there for now. But in the next part, we're diving even deeper into UEFA's structural changes, the potential for league reform, and how Celtic might actually take back some control of its future. But before that, I want to hear from you. Do you still feel the same excitement for a game at Rugby Park as you do when the Champions League anthem plays at Celtic Park? Or are we already too far down the road for that? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this conversation, hit that like, subscribe, and we'll keep going. So we've talked about the feeling, that quiet shift from domestic pride to European longing. But the thing is, it's not just about feelings anymore. It's becoming structural, built in. And the more you look at the way football is changing across Europe, the more you start to realize we're not just drifting toward this new reality. We're being pushed, guided, herded even. And the people doing the pushing, they're not based in Glasgow or even Edinburgh. They're in Neon, in UEFA's glass towers. And what they're building is not a house for clubs like Celtic. It's a palace for the elite, and everyone else is getting pushed toward the gates. You've seen it yourself. The new Champions League format, that whole Swiss model thing, they'll dress it up with talk of innovation and excitement, more games, more chances, blah, blah, blah. But at the core, it's about one thing, making sure the big clubs play each other more often so they can keep the money flowing and the brand value growing. And clubs like ours, we're not part of that core. We're decoration, exotic flair, history and noise, and green and white scarves. Just enough romance to keep the story interesting. But we're not written into the script. Not really. And here's the hardest part to admit: we've gone along with it because we need it. Financially, Celtic relies on those European nights to survive, never mind thrive. The TV money in Scotland is pennies. The sponsorship deals are modest. Ticket sales are loyal but limited by the size of the league. So what's left Europe? That's where the cash is. That's where the exposure is. That's where a club like Celtic becomes more than a local giant. It becomes part of the global story, even if it's only for 6 games a season. But that reliance comes at a price, because it means we play by someone else's rules. And it means we plan our seasons, our squads, even our tactics around a competition we don't really control. We gear up to qualify. We pray for decent draws. We dream of a knockout round. And the league, that's just the vehicle. It's not the destination anymore. Now that doesn't sit well with everyone. There's a generation of Celtic supporters, maybe even a couple of them, who grew up in a different time. When the domestic double was a dream. When the rivalry with Rangers was the pinnacle. When Europe was a bonus, a wild card. But now, with the game shifting under our feet, those memories feel distant. Beautiful eye, but fading. Because the truth is, you can win the league here with 12 routine wins and 2 old firm results. It's hard to get your blood pumping for that when you're watching teams like Napoli, Leverkusen, or Real Sociedad tear it up on a Wednesday night. So what do we do about it? Well, here's where things get tricky. Some folks say the answer is to push for Scottish League reform, to restructure the SPFL, make it more competitive, more entertaining, expand it, shrink it, bring in playoffs, try summer football. Maybe even talk again about Atlantic leagues or cross-border competitions. But every time those ideas come up, they get buried in committees and petty self-interest. Too many clubs protecting their slice of a shrinking pie. Too many suits scared to rock the boat. And then there's the more radical idea, the one that's been whispered about for years now. Celtic and Rangers breaking away, finding another league. Maybe England, maybe a European Super League that does make space for historic clubs outside the top 5. But that path is fraught. Legal issues, fan backlash, political noise. And at the heart of it, a moral question: would leaving the rest of Scottish football behind feel like progress or betrayal? Because it's easy to dream big when you're talking about money and prestige and Champions League nights under the lights. But what about the community? What about the identity? Celtic wasn't built in Madrid or Munich. It was built in Glasgow for a purpose far bigger than trophies. It's not just a football club. It's a cultural force, a piece of history, a lifeline for so many. And walking away from that, even with the best intentions, will change who we are forever. So maybe the answer isn't in leaving. Maybe it's in leading. Taking real steps to challenge the structure, not just in Scotland, but in Europe. Pushing for fairer revenue splits, for genuine qualification chances, for a footballing pyramid that doesn't just reward wealth, but ambition. That might sound idealistic, naive even. But what's the alternative sitting back while UEFA builds a gated community for the rich and lets everyone else rot outside? Watching as our best players get poached by mid-table English sides because we can't offer the wages, never mind the spotlight. Watching the gap grow wider and wider until even hope feels ridiculous. We can't let that happen. not without a fight. And maybe that fight starts at home. Not just in the boardroom, but in the stands, in the way we talk about the game, in the way we demand more from the people running it. Because if Celtic's future is going to mean something, really mean something, then it can't just be about Europe. It can't just be about chasing nights that only come once a month. It has to be about building something here. Something proud, something worth staying for. Because European football might be where the heart races. But if we let the domestic game die, we'll lose something far more important, our soul. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Glasgow has a new star in town, and he's arriving straight from the footballing heavens of Brazil. In a stunning move that is already sending shockwaves through Scottish football, Real Madrid have agreed to loan out teenage sensation Endrick to Celtic for the 2025-26 season. The Brazilian forward, who signed with the Spanish giants from Palmeiras, will now continue his European development under the floodlights of Celtic Park. Endrick, only 18, is widely considered one of the most electrifying prospects in world football. With blistering pace, technical brilliance, and a nose for goal that belies his age, the young forward has already drawn comparisons to legends like Ronaldo and Romario. His loan move to Celtic is a statement, not just from Real Madrid about their long-term plans, but from Celtic about their ambition on the European stage. Sources close to the deal suggest that Real Madrid sees Celtic as a perfect environment for Endrick to gain regular first-team experience in a competitive setting. And what better place to cut his teeth in Europe than in front of 60,000 passionate fans, where the expectations are sky high and the pressure is relentless. Celtic, under manager Brendan Rodgers, have been eager to inject fresh energy into their attacking line. With Endrick's arrival, they gain not only a player of immense quality, but also one who could potentially redefine the style and intensity of their forward play. Rodgers is known for developing young talent, and the opportunity to shape Endrick's path could be pivotal for both the player and the club. This loan marks a historic moment. Not often does Scottish football host a global talent of this magnitude. As Endrick prepares to don the green and white, anticipation is soaring. The Parkhead faithful are ready. The league is watching, and the eyes of the football world will now turn to Glasgow to see just how far this Brazilian phenomenon can go. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.